Hi everyone, in this video we're going to solve quadratic equations by using the quadratic formula. This is the quadratic formula. It's derived by completing the square of ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Equals y actually, but anyway. So that's how you derive the quadratic formula, which is kind of complicated. Anyway, you need to know the quadratic formula. And after a while, you should be able to do the quadratic formula and use the quadratic formula very quickly. So we're going to just get started with about 6 problems. So the first one we have is this one. So basically we have, this is in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So I'm going to write down my ABCs. A is 4, B is 7, and C is negative 15. So I'm going to write my formula here, and this is really solving for finding your solutions. That means where they cross the x-axis, where the parabola crosses. So x equals negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac. By the way, this is called the discriminant. We'll talk about that in the next video. All over 2a. It's very important that you keep this formula straight. So what I want to do is plug everything in, and what I recommend is that you do this part first. So let's try doing the part under the radical first. Then we'll put everything else in. So when we do b squared minus 4ac, b is 7 squared minus 4 times a is 4 times c is negative 15. Now when you do this, you get 49. Then you're taking this, you have 2 negatives here. Here's a negative and here's a negative. So that's going to end up being a positive. So you have 16 times 15, and 16 times 15 equals 240. Now when you add those two together, you get 289. So this equals 289. Now plug this in to under the radical. All right. So now we have x equals negative b. So that's negative, my b is 7, plus or minus the square root of 289 over, all over, make sure you put it all over, 2 times a, which is 4. Now the square root of 289 is 17. So basically what we're going to get is x equals negative 7 plus or minus 17 over 8. Now, at this point, I have 2 solutions here, so I'm going to take the plus part. So x equals negative 7 plus 17 over 8, and x equals negative 7 minus 17 over 8. So this is going to be x equals 10 over 8, which is 5/4. And this one is x equals negative 24 over 8, which equals negative 3. So these are my 2 solutions right here. Okay? So, like I said, until you get used to this, I recommend doing the part under the radical first, so you don't get confused with the 2 b's here. All right, the next one we have is not written in standard form. So if you see something like this, you always set this to 0. We're going to subtract x from both sides. So this is really 2x squared minus x minus 7 equals 0. You always want to write it in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. And write down your ABCs. A is 2. B is negative 1. This is like a 1 in front. And c is negative 7. Write down your formula. all over 2a. So I'm going to do this part first, the discriminant. I'm going to do the part under the radical. So b squared is negative 1 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 7. So this is going to be 2 negatives here. You have the 2 negatives. That means it's going to be a positive. So that's 28 times 2 is 56. So this all equals 57. Now, we're going to substitute that back in and rewrite this. So now we're going to write x equals negative b. b is negative 1, plus or minus the square root of 57, which there is not a perfect square of that, over 2 times 2, which is 4. 2a. a is 2. So I just multiplied that by 2. Now I'm going to kind of separate this out. 2 negatives make it positive. So we have 1 plus square root of 57 over 4. And we also have x equals 1 minus square root of 57 over 4. If those are exact solutions, exact values, if your teacher wants approximate, then you will use a calculator. Okay, the next one we have is this one. I'm going to rewrite it in proper form and set it to 0. That means y is 0. So x squared minus 5x minus 14 equals 0. In this case, my a equals 1, b equals negative 5, and c equals negative 14. So my formula is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now, I'm going to take care of this part first, just so I don't get confused. So that's negative 5 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 14. So this is 25 plus 4 times 14 is 56. So 25 plus 56 is, I believe, 81. So I'm going to plug this into that. So now we have x equals negative b. So put the negative, and then you're going to write negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 81. We already took care of that part over 2 times 1, which is 2. Now we're going to separate this out. X equals 2 negatives make a positive, plus square root of 81 is 9 over 2. And x equals 5 minus 9 over 2. So this is going to be 14 over 2, which equals 7. And this one is going to be x equals negative 4 over 2, which is negative 2. So if you wanted to write it this way, you could. Those are your two solutions. All right? Now the next one we have is really out of order. So I'm going to rewrite this as 3x squared minus 11x minus 4 equals 0. I have a equal 3, b equal negative 11, and c equal negative 4. So let's write down the quadratic formula. Negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So I'm going to take care of the discriminant part first, the part under the radical. That's going to be negative 11 squared minus 4 times 3 times negative 4. So that's going to be 121 plus 16 times 3 is 48. And that's going to give us 150 or 68. All right. No, 169. Yay. It's a perfect square. Okay, now we're going to plug this in here and rewrite. So that's going to be 169. So negative b, so it's x equals negative 11 plus or minus square root of 169 over 2a. So 2 times 3 is 6. 2a. A is 3. Now, so we have, break it down, we have x equals 11 plus 13, square root of 169 is 13 over 6. And we also have x equals 11 minus 13 over 6. So this is going to give us 24 over 6, which equals 4. And this is going to give us negative 2 over 6, which equals negative 1/3. Whoops, sorry. So your answers are 4, 0, and negative 1/3, 0. It's negative 1/3. Let me write this out. This is negative 1/3. All right. And here's another one. And we're going to just move the 9 over. And so this will be 0 equals 7x squared minus 2x minus 9. I just moved it on this side. A is 7, B is negative 2, and C is negative 9. My formula is x equals negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac. When you're writing these, keep trying to do it from memory because you want to be able to do these quickly. So the part I'm going to do first is this part, which is negative 2 squared minus 4 times 7 times negative 9. So this is going to be 4 plus 28 times 9 is, 28 times 9 is 252. So that's going to be 256. All right, so we're going to get x equals negative b, so that's going to be negative times a negative 2 plus or minus square root of 256 over 14, because it's 2 times 8. 2 times 7 is 14. I'm going to break this down, so it's going to be x equals 2 plus square root of 256 is 16 over 14, which equals 18 over 14, which equals 9 over 7. And the other one's going to be the same thing, but minus 2 minus 16 over 14, which equals negative 14 over 14, which equals negative 1. So our solutions are 9 over 7, 0, and negative 1, 0. All right, I have one more. This one, what they did is they kind of just complicated a little bit, so I'm going to subtract 3 and get this back in standard form. So we have 2x squared plus 9. I'm going to change this to x. All right, 9x plus 4 equals 0. A equals 2, B equals 9, and C equals 4. And let's see what we can do with this. All over 2a. So we take care of this inner side. I want to see what's going on with this. So we get 9 squared minus 4 times 2 times 4. So we get 81 minus 32. And 81 minus 32 is 49. So this equals 49. So x equals negative b, so it's negative 9, plus or minus square root of 49 over 4. Because 2 times 2, so I could have changed this to 2, right? So break it down, and we've got negative 9 plus 7 over 4, and x equals negative 9 minus 7 over 4. This is going to give me negative 1/2, and this is going to give me negative 16 over 4 is negative 4. So my solutions are negative, let me write this in a different color, negative 1/2, comma 0, and negative 4, comma 0. Now, I know when you do the quadratic formula, it's going to go a little slow, but you need to be able to do these very quickly because you'll be using the quadratic formula very, very many times. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the discriminant more in the next video. I hope you have a nice day.